So I pressed play before I decided what I wanted to say. Um, so it's been a while, and we do need to catch up a bit for those who are listening. And I've been working on myself quite a bit. Um, been walking daily, almost daily, at least 10,000 steps per day. Um, I've been trying to stay in the moment as much as possible, and I've been trying to just hang out with people, socialize a lot more than I did before. Um, yeah, and I definitely noticed that there's a difference in my all around perspective on my life and the place that I take in my life. But it's definitely still a big struggle for me. I don't know exactly what I want to happen in the short term. Like, I definitely know what I want to happen in the long term, what I hope for, what I aspire to, for as far as my energy allows. But for the short term, um, it feels like I'm in a gazillion different places, and I get like these feedbacks from the universe in general that is just very hectic, chaotic, and messy. And for me, trying to find a path and the first steps on that particular path is just very hard for me. And just trying to hang out with people and walking and trying to empty my mind allows me to forget that I feel this way, that I feel uninspired in a way, I guess. I feel drained a lot. My energy levels are extremely low. And so, walking, hanging out with friends, talking, um, it allows me to distract myself from that fact. And um, I hope that that will lead to I guess, a more energized space. Um, some new habits, some new positive, healthy habits for myself. Um, it's been a while since I recorded anything pertaining to social media, so YouTube, TikTok. I still haven't posted a thing to Instagram, um, neither to LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm waiting for like this spark of inspiration. I mean, aside from the fact that I have like these extremely low energy levels, and sure, talking to my therapist, I really got to, I don't know, admit to myself and also be like kind of certain that I'm definitely dealing with depression, and what looks like a very deep rooted depression that I've been struggling with for over 2 decades. And I'm relearning living, relearning being, relearning thinking, chilling, um, and to just be. Be safe in space, be safe in my desires, my wants, my needs, my hopes. Um, and I guess that that is also what the walking and chatting with friends all are trying to signal to me, like me taking time, taking space, um, is something that I should have done like decades ago. Um, my natural instinct, I guess, is to please everyone around me to the detriment of myself. And then, as a side effect, also to the detriment of them. And it's very important to stay rooting for yourself, for your own desires, your wants, your needs, and your own instincts. And that is something that's been really coming to the forefront for like almost a year now, where I remember like in the fall, I was dealing with like this feeling of that, not trusting my own instincts, not feeling like I could rely on them because I felt like the world was spiraling and just rebelling against me and all the ideas that I had. But after all these months going to therapy, taking time for myself, trying to really um, be in my body, I guess, being comfortable in my skin for as far as that's possible. I really noticed that I should allow the world to rebel against my instincts, my desires, my intentions, because the world isn't right, and it hasn't been for a long time. And the space that I hold as my identity, my all the intersections as a queer person of color with a disability, with depression, with body image issues, with um, an artistic um, way of expressing myself, and with the just divergent ways that I guess my mind works. Um, it's naturally going to be a struggle because I don't think the way that the general path goes. And I really have to accept that for myself, but also for just the world in general. Is that also the thing that I'm allowed to hold space and my ideas are allowed to be, even though they are maybe out there or rare or different or queer or whatever. Um, I am me and I'm allowed to express myself in the way that I truly desire and in ways that comes naturally to me, because doing it the other way is draining, and it I mean it's a constant struggle um, to act on it because my body still isn't used to following my own instincts, because the anxiety um, automatically forces me to make myself smaller and handle from a space of um, just doing as I'm told, I guess, well half halfly, like um I don't really fully show up in spaces and in situations where I feel comfortable unless it is like when I'm walking, because there's no pressure there. There's not a thing that I have to do. It's just me walking, talking with friends, it's just having conversations, being around them, spending quality time with them. Um, these are things where that internal voice and that stressor lessens itself, and the anxiety, I like I also said in previous videos, like it's a form of social anxiety, but it isn't, I guess, the literal social anxiety. It's um a byproduct of just the traumas from the youth, where, and I know that my very first um like hint of like that social anxiety piece came into being was when I was around 5 or 6 years old. So I know I was struggling with it for a long time, but I've never been officially diagnosed. Um, my psychologist definitely acknowledges it, and like he doesn't dismisses it. He doesn't dismiss it, but it's more like a um just something smaller, I guess. It's not like an official diagnosis. So um trying to figure out what it is exactly um is the path that I'm currently on. I'm looking into different forms of therapy now, because this session of the track that I'm on right now is ending. I have my final session. I'm gonna plan in the next couple of weeks, and then I will be moving on to the next part, the next piece, which would be a more interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary, um, and more involved, more a more consuming form of therapy, where I would combine like different forms of therapy with the help of a psychology practice, where I'm personally thinking of more of like a creative involvement with it, where I want to combine like just the talk therapy with movement, like dancing, and with singing, because the expression of myself, my emotions, is something that I really struggle with. And I guess also with the singing, like for the longest time I've been thinking about like wanted to take singing lessons, but then I was thinking like, wow, how come um why couldn't I combine the two ideas of expressing myself authentically and without the anxiety piece of it, where my body automatically responds in a certain kind of way? Why not combine that with like the techniques of like just getting better at singing and applying like breathing techniques, and then also opening up your throat, all that, um, warming up, like all these things, and just having somebody to guide me in a way, in a sense, to teach me and then also help me moving forward. So that is the path that I feel most inspired, I guess, to take. And the same goes with like movement dancing. Like my body is still dealing with a lot of anxiety. Like just through talking with my psychologist and with my friends, I'm starting to notice that rationally I'm at a certain place, but like my body is still coming from a place of fear of the anxiety, and I need to find a way to address that, and it can't be through talking, because my rational brain will take over, and this is more of like a thing that my body has to experience, like comfort, safety, um, and so yeah, I will be looking into that, like creative therapy. I've been talking to somebody who has been recommending me some practices, um, some places where they kind of address some of these things. So I'm gonna have to look into that, see which one registers with me, feels like addresses the thing that I want to address. And yeah, it's been a hard time to find the inspiration and the the drive to do anything. And if I think about like January when and February, where in that time period I couldn't get out of bed because of the depression, um, I really I really have to allow myself um, the the courtesy and the I don't know, I have to be nice to myself, which is something that apparently I'm not good at. I am very judgmental when it comes to myself. I'm very hard on myself, and I'm not patient with myself. And even in for now, ever since late August, no, not August, late April, I've been walking daily, almost daily, and I still deal, and of course, still because it's only just a couple of months, but I feel like I have to rush myself, where I'm like, yeah, but you're already 30 years old. When are you gonna take these next steps? And everybody I've been talking to has been keep telling me that I'm doing quite a lot, and I'm making all these steps. I'm taking all these steps, and it's very good that I'm doing this, and it's very um, hopeful and positive and cool and awesome and brave and all that. And I'm like, to a certain extent, I can receive that, and I'm like, I'm rationally, just like logically, like I know, but it's also like, yeah, but I'm 30 and I still don't have any form of income. I'm still dependent on exterior factors, external factors. I'm still dependent on my 5 year old self, basically. Like, my 5 year old self is running the course at this moment. It's the walking and talking with friends and all that definitely kind of um, helps with giving that 5 year old a break, because then I can just actually be in a moment and then experience things as they happen in that moment and just roll with the punches. But the thing that I find to be very I don't know, disheartening, I guess, is also the impatience. It's that piece of where I'm so used to thinking that I should be productive and I should add something to the world in general, but also to the people in my life, where I feel like whatever I do, I'm lacking. And that is a very hard thing to deal with when you're also depressed, when you're also lacking all the energy in the world, where you're also feeling like it's an accomplishment to get out of the bed. It's an accomplishment to get out of the door, which um honestly, like, I'm growing impatient, and I know that I'm growing impatient, and maybe the reason why I'm deciding to film this, knowing, because honestly, I do believe that nobody will watch this. I mean, I don't have the energy to edit this video. I don't have the energy to promote this. I don't even want to promote this, because a part of me doesn't want anyone to see this, I guess, and a part of me does extremely want somebody to see this, and maybe, I don't know. And I guess for me, this is a way to say that I did something or something else. And the other piece is like with the singing. Um, I had this idea in my mind when I was a kid that by the age of like 25, like my mid 20s, I would have like maybe 3 albums out, and I would have not necessarily maybe hit records, but at least some records out, and I would have like my own space and I would have tours and I would just perform for people and all that. And I remember hearing like these different conversations that were had on like talk shows or advice shows or whatever the case was, where they would say like at a certain moment, like you're basically too old to get into a certain industry, especially when it comes to entertainment. And of course, you have your outliers, your exceptions, where, especially when it comes to acting, we have like older actors who get discovered way later in their life. And um, are those very like random stories of like these singers who at the time that they turn 60 or whatever, like a Susan Boyle, where they become um, successful in their like their desires, their musical desires. But in general, it's like very youth oriented industry because the entertainment industry is very youth oriented and it's so problematic. But it's so unhealthy as well because if you look at like Free Britney and all that, like mm, that's not something that I'm yeah, jealous of, I guess. But it's more the idea that I still feel a certain fear that I'm too late, that I should give up on a dream. And yeah, I guess this is the point where I actually like speak out my put out the dream of, I don't know, is it like becoming a famous singer songwriter? Um, I guess I also struggle with, because I'm also a songwriter, with the whole idea of labels and the politics surrounding that, and just all the other things that come with it that have nothing to do with music and creation of music and the connecting with the listeners. Um, Especially now when you look at the platforms and the avenues that are readily available to artists and to people who would like to listen to music of these artists. Um, I don't know. It's very hard for me to give myself that grace where I'm like, okay, my life didn't go as I planned it when I was a kid, when I was a teenager in my early 20s. Um, I'm still, I feel, in the same spot that I've always been in, and that is a hard pill to swallow. And I guess sometimes I just wish someone would show up, give me the answers, and I would internalize that answer and act upon that, and then it would just work. It would just be like, okay, finally, now I'm in this spot and I'm moving forward and it's happening. And my belief system, my experiences have constantly shown me that that is just not what's in store for me. Um, and I guess that is just a draining thing because there isn't anything else that I would know to do or that I feel inspired to do, where it's hard for me to refocus on something else entirely, where I would feel as comfortable or as not as certain of myself, but definitely as knowledgeable of myself. Where like I've been writing songs ever since I was 7 years old. It's what I know to do, what I feel to do. I like performing. I like acting. Um, just like creating performance pieces and combining like just sociology and um, just like I was talking about, like bell hooks, imperialist, white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy, and the ways that we can create stuff in a form of maybe like solar punk, where we can address and fight that system, these intersecting systems. And I don't know, I just believe that what better way than the arts? And